Swami Paramahansa Yogananda went to his Guruji, who is Sri Yukteswarji, and then Sri Yukteswarji accepted him as his disciple. And then he asked him many questions, and out of which one of the things he said, okay, now that I have become your Guru, let me allow me to discipline your will. And Yoganandaji asked, why, sir? They said, well, at the moment, your will is guided by whims and fancies. Unless that will, which is a human will, is anchored in the divine will, you cannot make much progress. Now, this story is a little far-fetched because we know Paramahansa Yogananda himself was an avatar and a realized soul himself. So his will being guided by whims and fancies, we don't know. But the point of the story is not to debate that, but something for us to relate to that. Similar kind of encounter was also happened between when Swami Kriyananda went to Yoganandaji and asked him to become his disciple. And that encounter itself is wonderful. It's been described in the path very greatly. But again, I will just touch upon the final few points where Swami was asked by Yoganandaji that, will you give me your unconditional love? Now, remember, this was the first time Swami Kriyananda is meeting this person, Yogananda. Of course, he has read the book, but complete stranger when it comes to personality, no? And he was asked, can you give me your unconditional love? But Swami Kriyanandaji was very open, and he had complete faith that he has what he's looking for from Master. He has that capacity. So he said, yes, sir, I do give you my unconditional love. And the next question Master asks him is, will you give me your unconditional obedience? Now, those of us who know Swami Kriyanandaji, and again, he has written many books, so he was very sharp-minded himself. He is a very high soul. So he hesitated, faltered for a moment. And there on one side, he was desperate to be accepted as a disciple, but he also wanted to be honest. So he said that, well, sir, what if I feel at times you're not right? And which is a very genuine question, to which Master answered, and now I want us to really focus on that answer, is I will never ask you anything that the divine doesn't tell me to. So I will only ask you the things that the divine asks me out of you. And Swami Kriyananda was very satisfied with that answer and says, yes, sir, in that case, I give you my unconditional obedience. Now, if you reflect on those statements, what those two guys said, both of them are such a profound statement. Yoganandaji has said repeatedly when asked who are you, or in terms of how he described himself, he said, I have killed Yogananda long time ago. Who resides in this body is no other than just the presence of God. And if that is the guarantee that he was giving to Swami Kriyananda, he had no hesitation. He wanted to offer his life with all his commitment to do whatever God wants him to do. And it can come through Yoganandaji, and he has no hesitation. Both of them, that strong resolve of Yoganandaji saying there is nobody is going to reside in this body but God. And the resolve from Swami Kriyanandaji that if that kind of a statement, that kind of a suggestion, guidance comes to me, I will put all my might behind that. Now, I thought of this topic when we looked around this newsletter this week, which talked about how to control emotions or how to work with our reactive processes. And Swami Kriyananda has written a small booklet, and where he goes with a list of all sorts of emotions and emotional reactions like jealousy, anger, and so on and so forth. And I'm sure we all also suffer from all of them, these attacks come here and there, maybe at times very grave attack. But the talk which was mentioned in that, where Swami talks more in terms of an abstraction, where he said, okay, you can deal with them one at a time. But there is also a place where you can work with them as a whole, rather than dealing with, in this situation, if an anger comes, then what I will do with that. And that comes from that sense of inner renunciation or a surrender. And that's what he was talking about, and I would like to touch a little bit upon that. Sorry, I lost my chain of thought. One thing I want to, bringing back to where I was, when we start on this path, like Swami Kriyananda's example we gave, if we look around the world which we live, it is not that we have a horrible things happening in our lives in any sense, no. And there is a video series that we recorded at some point in time called Why I Meditate, and different people we chose who have been on this path, and asked them, like, what is it that you came to this one? And some of them had some very solid reasons, no, but some of them actually didn't have. They had a wonderful life. It's not that some very huge calamity fell on them and then they say, oh, there's no other thing has left for me, so let me go and try the spiritual stuff. But it was more in terms of something called for that. No, many of us have, at least might have our own stories, or have heard from others that you look at autobiography of a yogi, look at that picture, and then something inside just turns, and then you can't be completely at rest, and then you come here and start working on some things which didn't seem quite fitting. As they say, the outside world is pretty much almost perfect. Of course, I don't mean that everything bad happening in the world is not bad and all those things, but from the world that we live, it almost works. But the catch, it is almost. It is never perfect to that sense. And to get that perfection, they say, like, that will never be perfect, because the answers that you seek are not there. We have given enough attempt, given enough opportunities to our mind, but it gives us solutions. It gives us a sense of we are achieving something, but there is something deeper inside. It is still not fulfilled. But you see, we can't reason these things out even with people. I'm sure many of you have tried with your friends and trying to convince them, like, you must go and meditate, or you must go and then try this self-discovery, whatever. And they say, oh yes. They might listen to you because they're good friends, but they don't necessarily come here. And I don't mean to say by any means that they are lesser and we are better or anything, but I just want us to feel that how important it was, how fortunate we are in that sense that we responded to that call. And as they describe, this is nothing but grace. We can't learn it in books. We cannot learn it by someone. It just something happens inside which forces us to take such steps. It is certainly not our mind. It is not something we can think. And that's the pure grace. Then the second part comes, if that calling has come to us, what is it that we're going to do with it? Quite some time when I was on this path, I decided to do this spiritual quest and then self-inquiry and all those things. I was reading a lot of books and then trying to understand myself how this whole thing is going. And I think many of us do that same thing. But I always had this conception in my mind that, oh, this whole thing is very complicated. They talk about stages of samadhi and then aspects of God, and then Shamini and Ujjwal will be talking about that later. This is just so far-fetched. But my mind, I kind of convinced myself, okay, that's fine. Whenever I meditate, I feel good. I will stay with that. And then I read this chapter of Samadhi, Experience in Cosmic Consciousness by Yogananda. And I was reading and I said, boy, this is just too fascinating, but it's somewhere way up there. And I am somewhere way down there. One day, I don't know, maybe few months, few years, few lifetimes, I don't know, I will reach there. But still that time, I will just do what I want. Recently, I started feeling that thought was not helping at all. And I don't mean to say that I will go there tomorrow, but it just created that such a difference that there is something different happening with the lives of the master, and something because I'm a very small person, it is not, they do, and I have to do what I can. And it kind of just hindered myself. One of the important things we keep telling to our students, and whenever we share these teachings, that if this teaching doesn't help you in your lives, then there is a problem. And that's why they say, of course, it starts with morning and evening meditation, but throughout the day, that is where we live our lives. If it is not having any relevance to those lives, then there is some kind of a problem. And with that thought, again, when we talk about, is really that true? What it offered to me itself is, then if I want to ground it, what do I truly know? I don't know what Yogananda ji knows necessarily, but If again we ourselves ask these questions when we do our meditations, I kind of just ignore this fact, I feel a little bit better. But then instead, I want us to bring our attention to that part. Why on earth? Why is it that we meditate? When we sit at the end of the meditation, there is a tangible sense of peace, quietness. Why do we choose to come here every Sunday and then gather these things? We gather together here. At the end of this satsangs, each one of us carries something nice with us. Now, when I say, even at this moment as I'm speaking, if you go inside, there is a sense of joy, sense of happiness, or whatever we call it, a sense of vibrations inside ourselves, isn't it? And what are those vibrations? Is it something we come here because they give you like a dosage along with prasad, which kind of stimulates those vibrations? No, we haven't even had our prasad. No, that is going to come later on. Is it something that is going through? What is there in this room? And again, the question I ask to myself and to everyone here, where is Master? Master had told when he left the body, it's like, those who think me near, I will be near. Those who think me near, I will be near. And he didn't mean to say that, oh, I am leaving the body, these guys will be crying all the time, now I don't see him. No, he did mean something more than that. And that is again what? Where is he now? Is he there in this room? Is he there in these pictures? Or is he there in those murtis? The feeling that we have at this very moment inside, isn't that his presence? And if that is his presence as we feel here in our meditations when we sit in quiet, is that presence we kind of inject inside ourselves? Is it something external entity that, oh, please come to me? Yes, we pray at times, but how does he come? Isn't it just a revelation? Isn't it just the thing that, oh, I just was looking somewhere else? And if that is what is here right now, will this ever go away from us? Will it ever leave us? While we are thinking, again, the mind says like, oh yes, but it does. No, but leave that thought aside. It actually is, no? What leaves us is our awareness. The moment we shift our attention, the mind keeps telling that, yeah, it always feels good to go into the satsang, it feels so good. But now, we go out into the world and now we kind of lose. And we sort of buy that argument somehow. We know that it is not possible to feel that presence when we are doing something so-called worldly. Why do we buy that? When we say that, oh, I like to go to the satsang because here that is where I feel it. I like to sit onto our meditation cushion because that's where I feel Master's presence. As if the moment we leave, we get up from our meditation cushion, we leave him there. You stay. I'm going to do my worldly duties. You stay. I shall be back in my evening. But that is how we act, don't we? Many times. And I don't mean as a complaint. It's just a tendency. And in fact, you see, all our practices, starting with so-called the very basic practice, the fundamental practice of Hong Sa, is just about breaking that tendency. What is Hong Sa? I am He. We have accustomed ourselves to live in this world where the I, the tiny I, where I need to take this body, I need to take this mind and do all these things. We want to break that and say like, no, there is that presence, and not just the theoretical presence, the presence which I feel right now. I stay here because that presence, isn't that truly the life? Aren't we part of the life? Or is life something else outside this door? If you go again inside your own past, if you think about the times when life probably brought you some challenges, some things which were difficult periods, didn't you take care of them? Some extra energy is granted to you, some extra wisdom, extra power, strength to deal with those situations comes on its own. Life understands how to take care of life. And then we keep in our minds and projections, oh yes, that's all good, but I still have to do that. That is fine. Did you stop thinking when the life demanded more out of it? Did you stop worrying? Did you stop planning when the life situation demanded you to raise above where you were? We did all that. But we were just more present. And they talk a lot about being like inviting pain. Old saints, they used to say like, God, give me a lot of pain. And the whole reason behind that was the pain certainly brings you back to really your reality. Can't go too far in terms of thinking. No, that is the time when you think of God more. No. The practices, again, as we just read in the reading by Swami Kriyananda, he's just saying that just practice that. Stay with that presence. Whenever throughout the day, if you feel that, oh, am I not feeling His presence, then just take a moment. You see, it doesn't take too long. It doesn't take 2 hours of Kriya practice necessarily to even say that He's here. Where is He? Just here, right in that heart. And that presence has the intelligence. That presence has the wisdom enough to guide our life to wherever we are going. The choice that we have is only that, as Master says, is you go towards God or away from God. And what would that mean for us as we live our life? Is like, do I choose to trust that presence, or I go with my own habits of relying on my mind, relying on my thinking? The journey is really very small, from our mind to our heart. Very short distance we need to go. But it is the practice. There's not more into that practice besides that. As they say in the Festival of Light, it starts with the journey of the bird, but always starts like, what else is wisdom if not keeping what is mine for myself? And that is the thought that mind gives. But then in that presence, when we feel that we are all connected, it is not something that I own of Him. He is as much present inside me as inside you and everyone here. And in that presence, if we are all one, then that wisdom just becomes multifold, expands much more. And when we choose to stay in that presence, the joy becomes ineffable, stays with us all the time. And that is a calm joy, not just a joy which is bubbling and enthusiasm, but it has that calm, it has that faith that life is going to lead our life. Joy to you.